I want to welcome Agile XRM to the podcast. I've known the people at Agile XRM for the past 12 years. I've seen how their business process management tool can add massive value to complex organizational processes in sectors such as finance and government. If you have complex processes or a need for dialogues on the Power Platform or Dynamics 365, take a look at how this BPM tool can add value. You can find them at agilexrm.com or check out the show notes for more details. Welcome to the MVP Show. Before we chat with today's guests, if you're interested in the 90-day mentoring challenge, check it out at ako.nz365guy.com. That word ako is actually a Maori word that is about learning. Anyhow, let's get on with the show. Today's guest is all the way from Vancouver, Canada. He's a solution architect for Hitachi Solutions. He's an MVP, of course. He's a Microsoft certified trainer. He's an avid hiker and often goes kayaking, and he's in probably one of the best places in the world to do that. He loves ice hockey. You can check him out on Twitter at flow_Joe_ or his blog flowjoe.io. Joe Unwin, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's nice to be here.
Mate, aka FlowJoe, man, you're just famous now, right, for that?
Yeah, it was quite funny, really. Just suddenly, I was just talking to some people thinking about getting into like something new and found out about Microsoft Flow at the time. Someone called me FlowJoe and it's stuck ever since. Yeah, it's just...
Amsterdam. Did it all kick off in Amsterdam, that conference that we're at?
Yeah, definitely. That was my first conference that I went to, yeah.
Who would have believed the world would have changed so much from us all, partying at that conference?
Yeah, it's surreal, right? Like I've moved country, the world's kind of changed, as you said. It's been crazy couple of years.
Yeah, just unbelievable. And of course, for you, there's a big pivot in what you did, but maybe not everybody that's listening today know who you are. So I always like to ask my 3 Fs, family, food, and fun, what they mean to you. I could have made it 4 Fs, but then we would have probably had to put in it would be higher than PG, wouldn't it? It'd be an R rating we'd have to put on it. So let's just stick with family, food, and fun, Joe.
Sure. Family means a lot to me. I really think that you should pick your family. Like I'm a big supporter of that. And myself, my wife, and my 2 cats are kind of my whole family right now. We're loving life. Like the pandemic has been stressful for a lot of people, right? But we've got to spend a lot of time together, and I'm just really grateful for that.
So tell us a bit about, you're in this amazing city of Vancouver. When you want to treat yourself food-wise, where do you go?
Well, so before all of this stuff happened in the world, we were going to a place called The Keg quite a lot. It's quite a famous Canadian like steakhouse type thing. Really good. It's just, it reminded me of the pub food at home, right? So adjusting was really good. But more recently, I've been introduced to Popeyes, proper American trashy food, and it's just so good. I can't stop eating it. It's like just the spicy chicken burger is just it's just out of this world. I love it. But other than that, there's just so much authentic Asian food here. It's just so good. Like, you get so much good Japanese food here as well. I love ramen. It's just I love watery soup type food.
I assume it's because it's on the Pacific Ocean, right? Where we have strong Asian influences, and we're at the bottom of the Pacific. And then you're at the top of the Pacific, and of course Japan's there. Plus, we sweep right down across a lot of Asian countries. I suppose that's why as people have migrated over time, they've brought their food habits, I suppose, to our cities.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, they've probably moved here just like I have, right? Because it's it's the least cold place in Canada, so you're kind of getting a all in one with this Vancouver. It's just there's so much culture here. It's great.
Are you a coffee drinker?
I am not. I do not like hot drinks at all.
Wow, wow. Because I was just saying, like Vancouver, always I feel like you can get some good coffee there.
Yeah, there's great coffee here. I've been told by my wife.
So what I find funny, right? When I met you, heck, I've spent time in your house when you're in the UK, and we've chatted and stuff lots, and you've moved to Canada, we've moved back to New Zealand, and it's funny that there's really three people that are quite influential in the business application community: yourself, your wife, and Scott Durrow, all from the UK, and now all in the Vancouver area.
Yeah, it's I mean Canada's growing tremendously, and it's so good to be right next to America as well, right? Because I'm just a 2 hour drive down to Microsoft, and obviously when they open up, I can drive back down there. It's yeah, it's a really cool and freeing place to be, really. So it's incredible to see all of the new and upcoming people as well. Just all of the community here is yeah. I mean, it's great.
Tell me about the vibe in Vancouver around the community.
So before all of this stuff kicked off, we started a there was actually two Vancouver communities here. There was running alongside each other. There's one in Calgary as well. But we was getting a lot of like interest. Like Microsoft was really supportive, really helping out, like setting up places where we can go talk and everything like that. And everyone's really excited because Vancouver is a really tech oriented place as well. And there's just so many people, especially now, that are looking to change their careers. More and more people want to work from home, right? So they've they've just all started like looking at what they can do, and again, the Power Platform enables these people to do that. So the vibes really picking up here. It's really yeah, it's really exciting to see.
Are you seeing employers open and embracing the move to I don't want to just call it working from home. I think working from anywhere or working from, what's right. Because I still see some companies, and it surprises me, we're almost 2 years now into this pandemic and it's affected everybody's lives. And yet you're still seeing some companies going, you know what? As soon as this is off, everyone's going to be back in the office, And I'm just like, whoa, like, haven't you realized the world's totally different now? I negotiated my job role. I'm working for a company full time in another country, and the agreement was I am not required to go and live in that country. I'm not required to go and live in a major city center. And that was agreed up front as part of the employment negotiation. And I think that a lot more people, one, it opens to companies, the access to talent like never before. You don't have just the talent of the people in your local areas. You can have talent from anywhere. But one of the concerns that these companies are having are around, well, it'll affect our culture. How do you answer that?
Um, I don't think it'll affect our culture too much. In any if anything, I think it'll improve our culture because, as you said, there's people from all over the place that are going to be interacting with each other on a daily basis, working together. It kind of it kind of has like streamlined the globalization of the workforce, and I am a big supporter of that. I really don't like what I call an old mindset of being in the office 24/7. Because just and I understand some people want to be in the office, but I feel that forcing people to do that is just a detriment. And it costs so much money to have all of these offices as well, especially for startups, right? And there's, there's so much living space that we need as humanity right now, especially in like Vancouver, for example, right, where house prices are skyrocketing and that. I feel that we could just convert those offices into living spaces and just have like a floor where everyone could go work and just chill out, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and I mean, I've been working and interacting with people from around the world for over 10 years, and like this isn't new. This isn't something that's different. It's just now there's a lot more people doing it.
Yeah, so true. How did how did your career take this? How did you get into technology first of all? Why was it that and not becoming a doctor or a nuclear physicist or something else?
So I studied criminology at university. I really I really like to understand why something occurs, right? And then when I when I left university, that's when all of the housing market and everything like that went crazy. So there was limited jobs and stuff like that, and there wasn't really many jobs in criminology. Like the whole government's locked down and they stopped recruiting and stuff like that. Um, but I've always had a passion for technology, and I was really worried that working with technology would kind of destroy my passion for it. But I got a job straight out of university working for an awesome small company where I was effectively maintaining and then started building websites. And then from there, it just spiraled into me working for some really large corporations. Ended up working at a place called Derivco. It's massive gaming culture that's was based out of South Africa. And then I worked for the University of Cambridge. And while doing this, I was like going down the automation route. I preferred to, because I really liked QA, but I also liked development. So I went down automation testing route, which was really fun.
Awesome, awesome. And then, although I'm intimate with the transition, what's your story of getting into the Power Platform?
Yeah, so like I had done automation testing for around 6 to 7 years, and I kind of felt like I'd learned everything. I saw a ceiling and I couldn't go past it, and I was getting frustrated. And often with testing, it gets dropped first, right? Because it's the easy way to save money. And so I kind of just got really frustrated at work and really frustrated at my position because I was really passionate about it. Um, yeah, and then I just happened to go to this conference, started speaking to some people. We interacted about Microsoft Flow at the time, and I was like, "Oh wow, there's this like automation like software that's effectively doing what I'm spending days and days and days coding." So I went home, I turned on the camera, made a video of me interacting with it for the first time, and just fell in love with it. Really, that's why I've got the name Flojo. Right? I'm just very passionate about like Power Automate and automation itself. Now we've got a Power Automate desktop, which I'm making content for, and yeah, and now I've got here, and for the last 2 years, I've been working exclusively with the Microsoft stack. So yeah, it's really good.
Awesome. Tell us about RPA and what have you been doing and what excites you about it?
So RPA has been around for a long time. It's a robotics processing automation. It's the terminology hasn't, but um, in terms of like taking something and automating that process, it's been around for quite a while, and automation testers have been doing similar stuff, right? They've been opening up websites, entering information, and testing to see if that has actually occurred. Well, now what a big focus on is like old legacy systems that want to interact with, say, the Power Platform. Maybe you want to have a Dataverse in the cloud, but you've got an old system that has no APIs or anything like that. You can essentially open up on your own server, your application, run Power Automate Desktop, and effectively do RPA by gathering information or entering information into it that you've gathered from Power Automate. It's a really fantastic thing for legacy software. But not only that, it's great for anything that doesn't have an API, basically.
Have you automated anything in your own life with it?
I use Microsoft Flow Microsoft Flow Power Automate Cloud. I use that to do all of my like automation, because I am heavily API focused. But Power Automate Desktop I haven't necessarily, because everything I use now is on the internet, right? Like I don't necessarily have any legacy systems at home. But there's really cool things that you can do with Power Automate Desktop that's not just legacy systems. For example, like if you want to clean data from an Excel file, you can load that Excel file into memory on Power Automate Desktop, and then use SQL commands against it. So rather than having to cycle through each row, which will take you a couple of hours, you can do it in split seconds and just filter all that information out and have your nice clean Excel document.
Nice. I'm just wondering if there's a use case around interacting with the desktop, because that's one of the things that you can do, right? And I'm wondering if there's a option to, build out some that I can say, hey, she who shall not be named on the speaker next to me, do X on the computer, like shut down or mute or reboot or any of these type of things, that rather than having to do it via a keyboard, I could just flick those commands to the device, because I don't want to necessarily open up Cortana or anything, because I feel Cortana has not gone into everything as it needed to become, part of our lives. But the other people, the other devices, they have definitely become part of my life. From I use them to lock the building, to run a whole bunch of sequences. Whenever I leave the property, they can take the GPS position of my phone, and if I've forgotten something, they will carry it out. It's like amazing. But I've never got that type of automation just on a desktop level. My computer might be running, I've gotten to bed, and I hear the notification come through, and I'm like, damn it, I didn't mute the machine, and I just like to turn to the device next to me and go, shut the fuck up, and it would mute the device, in the other room, without me having to get up and go do it.
You could definitely do that on your desktop, right? Like, I mean, the whole premise is that you can control your Power Automate Desktop from Power Automate Cloud. So you could just download the Power Automate mobile application and press a button, which will then kick off your desktop flow of, i.e., shutting down your computer, for example. So yeah, it's definitely possible. Everything you do and interact with as a human on a desktop PC, you can effectively mimic. Doesn't necessarily mean you should. As with all automation, you've got to consider, is it worth it? Is it worth the return on investment? But if it is, then yeah, sure, go for it. You can do anything.
So true. Cool, man. Final question before I ask you some random questions. Getting the MVP, did it change things for you? What was the impact on your career? Some people say it does. Some people say it doesn't. What was it for you?
For me, like, I knew quite a lot of the people in the community beforehand, right? So for me, it opened up more discussions directly with Microsoft, and I think that enabled me to grow significantly more, because I was able to interact with the product group. I was able to actually find out what was going on, how I could help, things that were coming in the future. It was just really a really awesome scene to be a part of. But has it necessarily impacted my career significantly? Probably. I guess I would say probably. The reason why I'd say probably is because you don't have to be an MVP to be great in your field. You don't have to be an MVP to have recognition for being great at something. But does it help? Yes, it does. So I would say, yeah, it's probably helped my career, but I don't think that I would have slowed down if I wasn't an MVP.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. Cool, man. Alrighty, quick fire questions.
Let's go.
Okay, would you rather hear the good news or the bad news first?
Bad news.
I'll ask one that I know your wife would ask. What if you're a vegetable? What would you be?
I'm I'm going to say potato because I know that they'll hate that answer.
I love it. Anyhow, that wasn't one of my questions. If you could go back in time, what one thing would you tell your teenage self?
buy a Bitcoin.
Totally right. Totally. What's your most used emoji?
The thinking face, the one where it's just looking up. Yeah.
You know, I've been online with a person recently who uses the big goggly eyes quite a bit. And I realized what it is. So somebody, posts some information and then he's using that to say, I'm reading it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have interpreted it as that.
Yeah, like I'm looking at it, I'm reading at it, but I'm not going to add any other comment after that point. So, yeah, interesting. Joe, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP, Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If you want to support the show, check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Stay safe as always out there, folks, people, the universe. Ciao for now.